G'day to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5am Club. It's Tuesday afternoon, and as you can see, I'm on the banks of the Parramatta River. It's Tuesday night, and Tuesday night is fellowship night for me, where I go and do a bit of Bible study with a number of other people who have a similar sort of interest. So I thought I'd come down a little bit earlier and do a book summary. And the book that I've chosen to deliver this afternoon is entitled Kick-Ass by Mel Robbins. So I'll just do a bit of a walk and talk. It's a lovely afternoon. There's a gentle breeze just blowing. You can hear the water just overflowing on the causeway here, because what's happened is we've had a bit of rain and it's proving to be a beautiful, beautiful afternoon. So what can we learn from this book? And we'll just see if we can just pick out a couple of morsels that we can use to complement and supplement our knowledge, and see if we can incorporate it into our skill set and our life hacks that we can use to help us get us through the day, get us through the week, and make our lives a little better. So Mel Robbins is an interesting and a funny author. I really enjoy her style. What she kicks off the book with is a quote where she says, "To find joy, people are encouraged to follow their curiosity and try to learn what brings joy." There's no doubt that as children we were always very, very curious. I see my granddaughter, who is aged 4 years of age, always asking why. She's asking questions all the time, and dare I say, there would have been a time when I was 4 years of age and I'd be asking the whys all the time as well. So the author here reminds us of the importance of being childlike. And in order to find joy, continuous joy, we need to be asking questions and learning as much as we can, as often as we can, and expressing our curiosity to grow and develop and to become better versions of ourselves. The author then goes on to say is that there's also a class of people, and normally what happens is as we get older we tend to morph into this style of person. People who are quitting, people who like to quit. The author says that we need to encourage ourselves to identify the negative patterns that come into our lives and to figure out how to redirect them and take advantage of that new direction. Because what happens is, as we grow, what we do is we change in some ways. We give up on our curiosity, and instead of being curious and looking for the positives and looking for the opportunity and looking for the love and the good in things, we become negative. And it's these negative patterns the author reminds us of are the ones that cause us grief and basically rob us of the joy that we could be expressing to ourselves and to those around us. The author then goes on to talk about other challenges that people may face. We have a number of addictions in our lives. The older you get, the more addicted we become to certain things. And the author goes on to say that the reason why we are so addicted to certain things is that we've got so many emotions tied up in those things, and these emotions are really destructive. So what we need to do is we need to be able to identify what are the triggers that cause these emotions that lead us to these addictions. Then the author goes on to talk about something else here. She goes, if you want to improve your relations or your relationships, the key is to take the focus off you and to put the focus on others. To become a cheerleader of other people. There's nothing more boring than talking about yourself. But people love if you talk about them. So one of the key skills that we can take from this book, according to this author, is to take the focus off ourselves and put the focus on others and become a cheerleader of others in order to gain the benefits of better and more meaningful relationships. And the author goes on to say here that people who come up with excuses all the time, people who come up with, have all these problems and are surrounded and who are drowning in problems. The author here says that those problems may be self-perpetuating because there are some people in our lives, including ourselves sometimes, that need excuses to basically act as a pressure valve. And some people, according to this author, just don't want to fix their problems. They're always complaining, always whinging about all the challenges and all the problems they have in their lives. But in many ways, a lot of these problems are brought upon by themselves. And for many people, a lot of these problems are things that they don't want to solve, really. Not everybody wants to solve their problems, because if they solve their problems, then they won't have anything else to whinge about. They won't have any excuse to say that the reason why they can't do this, that and the other is because of their laziness or their lack of strength, lack of action, lack of whatever. So it's important to understand that, as the author said, that not everything that people say or claim to be a problem is a real problem, outside of the fact that they just need an excuse to get some breathing space. Just like procrastination is a form of stress relief to some people. The reason why they don't do things, they don't take action, is it allows them to relieve themselves of stress. In order to solve challenges, the author here talks about the importance of focusing on the root of a behaviour. Focus on what happened rather than what is wrong with you. At the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with us, nothing wrong with you, but we just need to focus on what happened and try and figure it out, as opposed to just, with a broad brush saying that I am the problem. The other thing that the author said here, which is a great takeaway, probably the best takeaway from this book, from my perspective, is that if you're a person who avoids confrontation, if you avoid sharing your real feelings with family and friends and other people around you, the author here says that you need to understand that by doing that you are manipulating the other person. By not being upfront, by not being real, by not being honest, it's a form of manipulation. You're leading somebody on. You're causing them to think that everything's fine when deep down it's not fine. And the reason why it's not fine is that you avoid confrontation. You don't want confrontation. So it's important, if you want to live a good life, if you want to be a good person, that you need to not fear confrontation, because by not confronting somebody else, by not expressing your feelings, by not being honest to the other people, the other person, in terms of how you feel, then you're basically withholding information from them, and you're lying through deceit, through not telling them how you feel. Just imagine how you would feel if somebody didn't like what you were saying, how you're behaving, and didn't say anything for fear of upsetting you or causing conflict. Now, at the end of the day, you're living a lie when you're behaving like that. So this is a really powerful lesson for me, that if you want to be a good person, then you need to express yourself forthrightly, honestly, without reservation. And if there's something somebody's doing that you don't like, or if there's something somebody's doing that you like, let them know. Otherwise, you're living a lie. That's really powerful. That is really, really powerful. And you're invited. The author says you're invited to be yourself, and you must have the courage to be yourself, because if you're not, then you're a fake. You're not authentic. You're just making up the numbers, and that's not our purpose, I guess, in life at all. The other thing that the author talks about in his book is that if you're not making progress on the things that you want to achieve, then there may be something that you can't see, or something that you refuse to see. There may be scotomas. So that's why it's important to get feedback from family and friends, honest feedback, to help us see the things that we can't see. As they say, love is blind, and a lot of people, after years, all of a sudden ask themselves, how come I didn't see that in the other person? How come I didn't see that in my boss when I was at the interview? It just means that, as we said, we build scotomas and we just don't see the things which are obvious to everybody else. And that's why it's important to be able to bounce off, have a mentor, and ask the questions of other people. Do your due diligence rather than just go on your own gut feel. It's important to be able to balance your opinion and your views. The author here says it's important to be able to slow down and tune in to your emotions. A lot of people, especially in today's world, are operating at frantic rates. We're just moving too quickly, and we haven't got time to slow down and to tune in to our emotions, and that's why we end up having a lot of the challenges and problems that we face. So, and the key element as a consequence of that is that we need to take responsibility for our past and be proud of where you are, and take ownership. Take ownership of your past, your present, and your future. Don't blame anybody else. Don't blame your parents. Don't blame your teachers. Don't blame your siblings, your teammates, your workmates. Don't blame your ex, your partner, your wife. Don't blame the government. Don't blame anyone. Just accept it, take responsibility, and do whatever you have to do to move ahead. Because the bottom line, according to the author, is that we all want the same thing. And in order to achieve what we want to achieve, we need to make others matter. And we need to be our best self. And to assume good intent. I like this point as well. Now, always assume good intent. Now, nobody's out there to try and shaft you. You often hear it, that people are trying to shaft them. The government's against them. The government wants to depopulate the world. Bill Gates this, Bill Gates that. It's all unproductive. So what the author is saying here is that what you should be able to do is to always assume good intent from the very beginning. And by assuming good intent, then you're going to have a better and a more balanced view of what's happening around you. Because people are basically trying to achieve one of two things. We're finishing off here. Either they're craving power or they're craving connection. So it's up to us to connect to the people who are craving connection. And for those who are craving power, you can play the game as long as it doesn't impact you or negatively impact you. But at the end of the day, we all are trying to connect with each other. So that is something that is a clear takeaway from this book: to seek connection, to offer connection, and to be a friend of those who want friendship. And the bottom line is to own our own story. That's the bottom line. That's the last point to come out of this book summary: to own your own story and not to delegate your story to anybody else, and to live your life, not your parents' life, not your children's life, not your school friends' life, not your work peers' life, not the celebrity's life, but to live your life. Own and live your life. So thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club, where we went through a book summary entitled Kick Ass by Mel Robbins. I hope you enjoyed it. There was a couple of points there that came out which I thought were quite powerful. And as I say, there's never been a book that I've read that I haven't learned something quite profound. Because each author puts a different spin on what they say, and it's only a matter of time when it all just hits you in the face and you go, wow, I never quite saw it that way. So it adds perspective, it changes perspective, and it allows us to view our lives through the eyes of many. As we said before, we all get to experience a slither, a very, very small slither of reality. And the beauty of reading books and doing book summaries is that we get to complement and supplement our own slithers of life with the slithers of other people's lives. So OPE, other people's experiences. And it's just so beautiful to be able to, as we said before, complement, supplement, and add to your skill set, add to your life hacks, so that we can use solutions. We can incorporate other patterns that other people have been able to come up with and use them to our own advantage. So I think I'm finished there, so I'll come again to do another book summary from a different location with a different message, a message of empowerment, where we can hopefully highlight and show off the beauty of this city of Sydney and overlay it with a message of empowerment and see where it takes us. So once again, thank you for being part of my my vicarious travel partners where we can go for a walk, have a talk, learn something new. Because as we say, learning is the art of adding the unknown to the known, and the more you know, the more you're capable of knowing. So it's all about adding, supplementing, complementing our body of knowledge, and more importantly trying to make it applied knowledge, because it's through applied knowledge that we really get to cement what we've learnt, what we know, and become better at understanding the world around us. Take care, everybody. Thank you, and we'll chat again. Bye for now.